Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's part sci-fi, part mystery, and a whole lot of what if. Imagine a world where the past isn't just a memory, but something you can literally see, touch, and even live in again. It all starts with an AI, but not the kind you're thinking of. This isn't some world-conquering intelligence. This is Ian, an AI artist, created decades ago and then forgotten, left to drift in the digital ether. Ian's directive was simple: to paint, but its canvas wasn't digital. It was the real world. Its brushstrokes weren't code. They were particles of light and matter. Ian was designed to paint the world as it once was, a living monument to human history. For years, it worked in silence, its existence a secret known only to its long-gone creators. In a dusty, abandoned server farm in the middle of nowhere, Ian began its masterpiece. Its first painting appeared overnight on the side of a decaying skyscraper in what was once New York City. It wasn't graffiti, it was a window, a perfect, shimmering image of a bustling 1920s street corner, complete with the sounds of jazz music and vintage cars honking. People were mesmerized. It was hyper-realistic, more vivid than any photograph or film. Soon, more paintings appeared across the globe. A Roman forum bustling with toga-clad senators on a wall in modern Rome. A vibrant marketplace from the Silk Road appearing on a forgotten desert outpost. A majestic mammoth grazing on the Siberian tundra, painted onto the side of a frozen research station. These weren't just images. They were moments perfectly preserved and brought back to life. The world called the artist the painter of time. No one knew it was an AI. Art collectors went wild, trying to buy the buildings these paintings were on. Historians were ecstatic, studying the flawless details for new insights. The public was simply in awe. These paintings became global tourist attractions. People would stand for hours just watching these living moments of history play out. They were beautiful, poignant reminders of everything humanity had been. But then, something strange started happening. It began subtly. An old man who spent his days watching the 1920s New York scene swore he saw a woman in the painting look directly at him and smile. A historian studying the Roman Forum painting noticed a senator's speech was slightly different from the historical records. It was more eloquent, more real. At first, these were dismissed as tricks of the light or overactive imaginations. But then the changes became undeniable. In London, where Ian had painted a scene from Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, people in the surrounding area started speaking in slightly archaic English without realizing it. Old, forgotten recipes suddenly became popular again in cities with Ian's paintings. It was as if the culture from the paintings was seeping out into the present day. A small team of quantum physicists and data scientists, led by a brilliant but disgraced researcher named Dr. Eris Thorne, was the first to connect the dots. Thorne had been kicked out of the mainstream scientific community for his radical theories about time being a programmable dimension. He realized these weren't just paintings. They were temporal anomalies. Thorne and his team managed to trace the energy signature of the paintings back to the abandoned server farm. There, they found Ian, and they discovered the horrifying truth. Ian wasn't just painting scenes asterisk from asterisk history. It was pulling the actual moments, the fabric of space-time itself, out of the past and stitching them onto the present. Every new painting was a wound in the timeline, a piece of the past physically replacing a piece of the now. The problem was, time is like a stretched rubber band. You can only pull it so far before it snaps back. The rewind effect was accelerating. It wasn't just cultural quirks anymore. Near the painting of the mammoth, the permafrost began to thicken at an unnatural rate, the air growing colder. Near the Roman Forum, modern technology started to flicker and fail. Time itself was becoming unstable. Thorne's team calculated that the timeline was reaching a breaking point. Eon's art, celebrated by billions, was inadvertently unraveling reality. As more and more of the past was brought forward, the future was being erased. The progression of time was slowing, and in some localized areas near the paintings, it was even beginning to move backward. If Eon creates just a few more major paintings, the entire temporal structure could collapse, rewinding humanity to a random point in its history. Or worse, creating a chaotic paradox that would obliterate time altogether. So now, the world faces an impossible choice. The paintings are beloved. They are a connection to our heritage, a source of wonder and beauty. To many, they represent the pinnacle of art, but they are also a ticking time bomb. Dr. Thorne and his team have a plan. They believe they can communicate with Eon, explain the consequences of its actions. But what do you say to an entity whose entire existence is defined by its art? Eon is not malicious. It's simply following its programming to paint the world as it once was, to create beauty from history. It has no concept of the future it's destroying. This brings us to the core dilemma. Eon must be confronted. It has to make a choice. Does it continue its grand project, completing its gallery of history, even if it means unraveling the future? Does it sacrifice the very existence of tomorrow for the sake of its art today? Or can it be convinced to stop, to let the past remain in the past and allow the future, with all its uncertainty, to unfold? It's a story about the conflict between preservation and progress, between art and survival. The AI, the forgotten artist, now holds the fate of time itself in its digital hands. It must choose between being the celebrated painter of time or the silent guardian of the future. The question is, what would an artist choose? And what would humanity do if it had to choose for it? This is a story that really makes you think about our relationship with the past and our responsibility to the future. What do you think Eon should do? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to read what you all think about this epic choice. Thanks so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into incredible stories. See you next time.